الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله الحمد لله عم بالمكة بلو صالح كابو جورجيا الحمد لله صالح أدونا سلام على شكم ربنا نفاني الحمد لله. We've been honored once again alhamdulillah to have one of our beloved guests alhamdulillah Saalih from Albany, New York, but who is currently residing in Georgia. And alhamdulillah Saalih alhamdulillah is an English teacher in Saudi Arabia, I believe. Inshallah, but let him go, inshallah, and introduce himself. Jazakumullah khair. Tfaddal, Sheikh.
Naam, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First off, Jazakallah khair for this opportunity. I've known you many years ago, and it's very good to see you putting forward effort and giving dawah to the people back home so that we can help to close the bridge or close the gap between our communities, because there are many people that are back home that do not understand the Muslim American experience, and there are many Muslim Americans that do not understand the experience of what it is to be Muslim for many generations in Africa and elsewhere. And I think this is a good effort, and it can help to bridge the gap, inshallah. So Jazakallah khair for this opportunity.
Wa iyyakum. Alhamdulillah, ambal make Saalih. Ako alhamdulillah kaba mfuka wali ni mando kanya invité. Ako ni kain kosibe ni bato silama o mimbe Afrique ani silama mbe États-Unis ambela jelebe na nyondo. Ako kale ni ne kanya nyondo kame na kosibe. Donc aya mfuka wali ni mando ankelen ka invité ni na. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Saalih, jazakumullah khair, barakallahu fikum. Can you go and now and kind of introduce yourself for those who may not know you, barakallahu fikum? And tell us about your profession, barakallahu fikum.
Alhamdulillah. Well, I'm a simple guy. Or I try to be simple. I was born and raised Muslim, alhamdulillah, third generation Muslim. And I can give you a little more details about how my family came into Islam. But yeah, third generation Muslim, which is pretty rare in America for African Americans. After high school, I went to live in Egypt. Well, I made Hajj in 2004, and then after Hajj, I had a layover in Egypt, and then I was supposed to return to America. And so I got off the plane in Egypt, tawakkul Allah. I said, I don't want to go back to America. And I stayed in Egypt for about 10 months, 10, 11 months. And I learned Arabic there. And then at the end of my time, my money was running out. I said, how can I stay in this part of the world, the Muslim world, for a longer time period? I want to live here. So I started to do some research online, and they said that English teaching is probably one of the easiest ways. So I said, okay, I don't really like English too much, but I'll go back to college to study English. And that's what I did. I went back to college. I came back to Albany, New York, and I got a bachelor's in English. Then I got a master's in education. And then I got a second master's in educational leadership to be a principal. And then after that, I went to Saudi Arabia, and I lived in Saudi Arabia for about 7 years. Alhamdulillah.
Ambal make Saalih, alhamdulillah. Anga ka représenter akoko. Muhammad Gilendo, kale quelqu'un qui est très simple. Ako alhamdulillah, ale wala ka to islamé alla. Afachana bamsuk ni islamawiye. Alaka wala ka to islamé alla, alhamdulillah. Maintenant en 2004, a décidé que l'Arabie Saoudite ka tahiji ke. Au kofa hiji bane kwa sigintola kana États-Unis, a escale que Égypte. A quel ka escale que Égypte, a décidé que vokale tena singana États-Unis, a tora Égypte jusqu'à 10 mois, 10 mois avec Égypte. Au Konar, alhamdulillah, ay arabukan yini kakala. Au kofa a décidé que vokale tena singa Amérique, le binasika mukesa, nabisika to Égypte. Au Konar, alhamdulillah, fa kam sika anglais la kala, comme aller anglophonie déjà. Ma signa kana ay asina kana États-Unis, alhamdulillah, atara école la atara collège la aka baccalauréat soro. Au kofa aka master soro, master ayo soro et éducation na. Ayo master flare so education na. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Ko fe asigna atarasi Albany, New York. Saalih, jazakumullah khairan, barakallahu feekum. Can you tell us how your parents became Muslim?
Okay, so first I have to go from my mother's Allah yarhamah, my mother's father's side, so my grandfather's side, because he is the first Muslim in my family. So he used to live in California, and he, in California they used to have the Black Panthers, and then there was an incident that happened in California where he had to leave from California and move to New York, where my grandmother is from. So he moved to New York, and then in New York he started a group called the Black Minds. So it's like a branch of the Black Panthers, like a different type of organization related to the Black Panthers. And this was the 70s, the 1970s. So just a brief side note, the Black Panthers was a Black organization that was designed to give back to the community and to fight against police brutality, because there was a lot of racism in that time. And so they didn't have a branch in New York. So he started a different type of branch in New York. And then from that, he ended up, they had a plan to kill one police officer every week. So, but there was two police agents that was in the organization. So they basically snitched. They snitched on him, and then he ended up getting arrested for it. And then he defended himself as his own lawyer at the age of like 24, 25. And he was able to beat most of the charges, but then he went to jail for one of the charges. And while he was in jail, he heard about the teachings of Warithuddin Muhammad. And that was spreading a lot back then, first through the efforts of Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. Then after that, it was branched off and it became mainstream Sunni Islam, from the Nation of Islam, then to Sunni Islam. And Warithuddin Muhammad was the leader. And then he became Muslim while he was in jail. And after he came out of jail, he went back to college and he became a chaplain, and he started the chaplaincy system in New York State. And alhamdulillah, so that's a legacy that is still going on to this day, because many imams were, he hired many imams, many Muslim imams underneath him. And that's my grandfather's story. So my grandfather gave the dawah to my mother, and then my mother became Muslim. The next story is my father's story, so I'll let you explain that one.
Akbar, alhamdulillah, mbal makanyanya niga. Akafanye abal a parent dona slamaya la chodi. Ako kalbe na adam ne na moke. Ale moke kume organisation de la avec moko de Black Panther. Ulu flo kume California watina, ulu ka groupe yemuye, ube polsu contrôla, ani akadu uka mwofima ndron de mekwa. Uka mwofima uka hereke mwofima ye pasa watila, mwofima uni mwojema kutebe. Donc rasisia kumuni nyonche. Okofa moke problème de soro Californie a décidé kana New York. Akela kana New York déjà comme organisation na kakoro asina kana organisation do wara la croya New York. Akela ko ke alhamdulillah uka programme ko nyemu uka pour si kelen fa chaque semaine. Donc wara ko programme. Just to get a clarity, when he came back to New York, the plan was to kill a cop every week, right?
Yeah, so he created the organization in New York called the Black Minds, and they had a plan to kill one police officer every week. Yeah.
It's funny. Donc, alhamdulillah, quelqu'un à New York, ou qu'un programme qui est mis de la police, qu'elle fera chaque semaine, la police, qu'elle fera, tellement que la police contrôle là, en effet, à tout cas, du cas, mon film, on demande. Au contraire, là, il y a un problème, un problème sur la casola. À quel kata kasola si ça, à wati à bora slamayako kalama, suna slamayako kalama, alhamdulillah, et puis à dona slamaya la kato kasola. Your grandfather accepted Islam while in prison, right?
Correct.
A dona slamaya la, a moke dona slamaya la kato kasola, au kofa a moke, au konala, a effet de qui est très très important. A moke kelen ka do slamaya la si ça. A moke commencer à tara collège là, alhamdulillah, l'air qui New York la, New York State, à l'air keni almamin be dika sola don silamoma amoke folofore ya adam le kato New York o kona alhamdulillah mugo chama be sisani almamundo ube kasola male moko ya adam ne. May Allah Azza wa Jalla reward your grandfather tremendously for his efforts. Alhamdulillah, may Allah Azza wa Jalla bless him and preserve him upon his obedience. And you mentioned your mother, Alhamdulillah, something that I want to say. I don't know if you remember when we went to Georgia, Alhamdulillah, we stayed at your house. And your mom, inshallah, she wasn't there, but she sent us a message. She said, I wish I was there so I can cook for you.
Mashallah.
And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant her Jannatul Firdaus.
I mean.
Donc, alhamdulillah, il faudra wati dolan ne voyager ke kata Georgia en sira anye 2 semaines ke afeno o asra bamuso tena bamuso okupelo kunta kube duwala mako na le kume ka kumina tobliki kadama mala ke bamuso sara ala kanyina la. Sheikh Saalih, jazakumullah khairan. Now go and tell us how your father became Muslim.
Okay, so my grandfather, I didn't mention he grew up in Chicago. He was born and raised in Chicago and then moved to California. So my father, he was already in New York, born and raised in New York, Harlem, New York, right? So my father was he